Welcome back to the World Championship Series Winter Edition. We're moving into the winner's match from our last group for Group Stage 1. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined here by Zombie Grub. And Zombie Grub, let me ask you something. I know you've played a little bit of random. You've played Protoss, for example. What's one of the more infuriating things that can sometimes happen to you as Protoss, especially, you know, things that will just really kill your production?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes there's only like one pylon powering my gateways.
Do we have a name for one of those pylons?
The in-control pylon.
In-control pylon. That is exactly what I heard. But another place that you can also find that is with his partner, Artosis. In-control and Artosis have the Pylon Show, since they both run an amazing talk show that happens on Wednesdays at 5:45 p.m. Pacific, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Whenever we do this shout out for the Pylon Show, we're always doing the European segment, and I never actually know the time. Just add 8 or 9 hours to those times I just listed, and that's going to be around the time that you can catch that. And of course, if you are asleep during that time, I know sometimes our bodies have to sleep. We can't consume StarCraft 24/7. All of the VODs are available on Artosis' YouTube channel. It's a great show. Zombie Grub has been on it. I have been on it. Usually the episodes with Zombie Grub are on it are a little bit better than the ones where I'm on it, but sometimes she balances out my rambling with actual intuitive thoughts and intelligent thoughts. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about that next match. We got a Protoss versus Zerg coming up. What's up?
Just, I want you to continue rambling.
I'm pretty good at rambling.
You are.
I mean, do you guys want to hear some cooking recipes? I don't have any because I can't cook.
Yeah, you never
all.
cook. That
was the joke. But ShoWTimE versus Zanster is going to be a pretty awesome match. I think this is going to be extremely hype, but I do think ShoWTimE might potentially outclass Zanster. He might sort of outclass Zanster.
Shut it. Yes, Zanster, as I mentioned in the last series I was on with him, he sometimes punches above his weight. You know, he can be a little wacky, and that can throw people off. But generally, even when Zanster's having like a bit of a hot streak, you know, and doing pretty well, he still doesn't quite compare to ShoWTimE, especially a ShoWTimE who is just, I mean, apparently from everyone's talk of the town, from his performances online, is just good. It's actually another level perhaps entering into the 2019 season. So we're talking about him. Let's introduce him. In the bottom right is the red Protoss. He is ShoWTimE.
And he is facing off against this blue Zerg player in the top left-hand corner of the map. His name is Zanster. Good old Anton from Psystorm Gaming.
Yeah. You know what? Me and Nate were wondering about this decal. Friendly Twitch chat told me that it is in fact the basic one.
But is it an X or is it a cross? Do you get the reference?
Is it not both?
Oh, it's a joke. It's a console word joke because all of the consoles call the X because all three, the Switch, the Xbox, and the PlayStation, all have that symbol, but they all call it different things. It's either an X or a cross or something else.
I always call it plus sign.
Well, there you go.
I'm just kidding. I never did that.
If you rotate the camera, it is.
Yeah. Well, I did that on the Switch controls because it is a plus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a different button.
It's a different button.
That's a different button.
Yes.
Okay, well, we do have Hatch gas pool over here for Zanster. So he's playing normal. He's not doing any kind of cheeky shenanigans against the good old macro god ShoWTimE. But Zanster does like to sometimes play a little bit funky. He likes to mix things up occasionally. He definitely can play standard. But I really do enjoy when I get to see a little bit of that creativity from Zanster every so often.
Yes. You know, I'm not supposed to bring this up probably, but what is the hotkey to get rid of this? Upper left overlay. I forget it.
Control-Alt-F.
Control-Alt-F.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sorry, guys. You'll have to live without seeing our amazing 3,000 FPS.
Yes.
Computers.
Isn't it amazing? I always forget that hockey. But I'm with you, man. Excuse me. I know that you had a conversation with Nate about how you don't really feel ping. I am in this, like, I don't know, perfect vortex of internet stability that I could play on any server.
Then why do you complain when I set our server preference to Australia in our team games?
Because we can't find matches.
Oh, that's true.
That is a legitimate reason.
That actually is a problem sometimes. It's just because we have such weird MMR between me being in like Diamond League and then you're up there in Masters League. And then we have Pig, who's just randomly like a top 50, top 100 GM player.
My the account that I use for that actually isn't ranked.
Well, that messes with it even more, probably.
Yeah. I guess so.
It is going to be a Stargate opening, by the way, from ShoWTimE. Open up with a double Adept. Actually making a third Adept as well, just to plug up that wall, and a Phoenix first.
He could go for the Creep Tumor. He does not want to get in and see how many Lings are produced, probably. So Phoenix pops out, take care of the Overlord. There is an Oracle on the way. The Overlord can see that. For some reason, the Stargate was chosen to have the reveal there.
It's a little too open about itself.
Yeah, I really wonder what the decision was that for. Like, because that's been there from the get-go, so it wasn't like a balanced decision.
And it's not like the Robo or anything does that either. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know what that was up that. I mean, I like it. I think it's a cool, different thing that can happen, but it's just...
Wouldn't it be cool as if you zoomed in on a larva, or sorry, an egg? Not necessarily super clearly, but just a little bit of a hint. You could see the outline of a Mutalisk or the outline of an Ultralisk or something.
What is the outline of an Ultralisk inside of a larva egg?
They look a lot like a Zergling, but much larger.
Are you really? Would it not just be like stuffed in there? You couldn't tell what the hell's going on. It's a double Stargate build. We saw this earlier with ShoWTimE versus Hate Me, and he was so cool about it.
He did skip the Oracle in that game as well, so... But you're right, he was really cool about it. He did go for the hallucinated Warp Prism. That's the game you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I could have sworn he went for an Oracle.
Oh, maybe I'm misremembering.
Well, it doesn't actually matter. The more important thing was the Warp Prism that was hallucinated. So will he try and do that again? Will Zanster be onto his tricks?
Yeah, no sentries available just yet, but I think he could still warp in a sentry and then try and go for something like that if he really wants to, but... I think as the time is starting to pass, we're starting to see that ShoWTimE just going to be banking up these Phoenix. Wait until he gets about 5, and that's usually the time you want to move out. The Adept, by the way, getting caught by some of these Zerglings. One Adept is going to go down. The second Adept should survive. But man, Zanster is on top of it. He's chasing that Adept down. He's going to maybe force some energy usage here from the Oracle.
Yeah, that's going to have to be used. It's a little unfortunate. He doesn't have the sturdy 4 Adepts now hiding or being protected by the pylon at the third base, just 2. But Zanster's not really prepping for any surgical strike at the third base, like 30 Lings aren't on the way. Not even any Roaches, although he got a Roach Warren, he didn't have to make them, so he didn't.
Okay, up to going up to a 7th Queen, as he is going to be finally spotting out the double Stargate Phoenix. Is moving in. He's got 1 Spore Crawler in each one of his bases, which is fine for a single Stargate. But you do need at least some of the extra Queens or some extra DPS to push back those Phoenix without taking too many drone losses. Already seen 5 go down, but Zanster, whoa, okay. The double Nidus Worm. So I guess you can build 2 or multiple Nidus Worms. You can build a lot of Nidus Worms at a time like this, but
yeah, definitely 2 at a time.
He threw them down at the same time, so this couldn't have been a mistake.
No, I think it's definitely on purpose. So ShoWTimE sees 1 Nidus Worm. I'm not sure if it's really that much more potent to get 2 if you already know there's Nidus Worm play in general. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, but you know what? Here's a cool thought, is that when you go for double Stargate, usually the unit you have the most of obviously is going to be the Phoenix, right?
Right.
And the Phoenix have an important role to pick up the Queens as soon as they pop out of the Nidus Worm. But Zanster can just pick and choose which Nidus Worm is going to pop out of wherever the Phoenix aren't, and then he's going to have the time to unload all of his Queens and get all the units out.
That is true. I believe this is an earlier Nidus Worm that we saw from last time ShoWTimE was in a similar position. He already done a lot of damage as well. That was the Adept game. So this is a little bit trickier. ShoWTimE has to be... I guess I have to
give up his third.
Yeah, he has to start to make really tough decisions, and giving up the third base entirely is that tough decision that I think is the right one.
The Phoenix are actually on the other side of the map, going to try and do some damage to try and equalize losing the third base. He's killed off 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 workers here, and has taken the worker lead, but then double Nidus Worm going up in the main base. This is also really cool because these Nidus Worms are going to be covering each other a bit.
Yeah, okay, just letting those units in. Like, he doesn't have a lot of units if he split them, but it works out all right.
Yeah. Not that many units, like you said, inside of the Nidus Worms, but he does eventually get the Queens back over there. The rest of the units are just going to continue poking at the front, though.
That was awkward. That was very awkward. All of his Roaches died where the Queens can come in and help out. ShoWTimE is dealing with 2 attacks still, but this one is a lot smaller, and the Phoenix will come back home with still enough energy, too. That's what I was worried about. and Oracle even.
That's a lot of Queens with so much transfuse energy, like you were saying, and the Phoenix just don't have that energy. Another Immortal pops out. It's going to be helpful for cleaning up the roaches inside the natural expansion, but Zanster is starting to make more and more progress, and remember, his reinforcements are going to start coming through those Nidus Worms.
Yeah, I think ShoWTimE, I mean, there's a lot of things going wrong here. He doesn't have the production, he doesn't have the minerals for the production anyways. He is trying desperately to utilize every single unit to its fullest. Ooh. And those Phoenix finally able to help out here, picking up 4 Queens.
And a lot of the Queens that had transfuse energy, I think there's only maybe 1 transfuse left, and it's on the weakened Queen right now. More roaches come out, but this Immortal count, it's actually staying strong. He's only lost 1 Immortal despite everything that's been going on. And sure, the Queens don't take extra damage, but these roaches sure as hell do.
Yeah, and the Immortals, while some of them had their Hardened Shield spot, they were still very beefy, and Zanster just evacuates. A very nice hold from ShoWTimE. I was honestly worried when he went to do his counter or run by, whatever you want to call it, that he wouldn't have enough energy to help out back at home, and that might have contributed a little bit to that defense. It was enough at the end, and now Zanster is forced to go into a macro game, but that's really not a bad thing. He killed the 3rd base, he got ahead in drones, and the army, while the Immortals live, and that is a very good, important note to make, it is missing everything else. You know, there's a lot of buffer here.
I agree. I do want to note that the drone, he was down in drones. He was down in workers until after he started, I guess, trying to transition back. Just because the Phoenix had spent a lot of their energy lifting up a bunch of these workers. And you can see they move back in to kill off 6 more workers. He's kept those Phoenix alive, which is not only helpful for doing some counter damage, it's actually also pretty nice for making sure there's not additional vision besides the creep tumors in his main base, but he does clean up those creep tumors with the Observer, and that does prevent additional Nidus Worms from easily going up.
He does have the wall blocked with an Immortal. That would have been unnecessary to let those in. So I think ShoWTimE is good to go. The Phoenix are going to give him such control over the flow of this game. He can really pick and choose his battles or his decisions better based off all this information. So if Zanster was not going up to 70 drones and he saw there's no drones at the 4th base, for instance, maybe he holds off in 3rd a little while longer. But he does have that strong army. He just needs the Zealot Warpins. I mean, this isn't a powerful looking army. But if it got, like, you know, surrounded, if the shields were popped and then Zanster ran back home or something like that, right, then it is not as powerful very quickly.
He's going to be hitting a lot earlier than he gets that Warp Prism, though, because I agree with you. Right. He wants that first round of Warpins, and the army is going to make their way all the way to the 4th base before the Warp Prism can help out at all. So is he going to actually push in immediately?
Yeah, it's one of those things where is it worth the speed with this type of army, and it might just be the Hydras are still coming out here.
That's nice.
It's such a the Phoenix are going to help out with the crowd control so much that while they're not charge lots to buffer, maybe it was something he felt confident in, but he sees the army in its entirety and says, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I think I need a bit more for that, and he is going to be allowed to pull away. So that was still a nice poke forward, and Zanster did take that very seriously. Now Zanster's maxed out with an upgrade. Doesn't quite have the speed upgrades, though, so he might want to wait on that.
Yep, getting very close to that. But Storm is on the verge of finishing up here for ShoWTimE. He's got 4 High Templars already warped in. They're building up the energy, so he'll have that available to defend that 3rd base. But that economy for ShoWTimE is not looking so hot. He's going to try and take a 4th base, and he needs this 4th base badly. Because losing your 3rd base for such a long time as a pros player, it hurts. It really hurts, especially with that gas production. When you start getting up to high gas cost units like High Templars.
It does certainly have to come down, but I think if he's been pushed off even for minutes, as long as he doesn't lose his army in the process, that's always the trick to it, right? If you're on a low economy but you can still max out, well,
yeah,
that army is still good, right?
That's fair.
And ShoWTimE is at that like breaking point, I feel, for Protoss. Like that 150 supply is really where they start to feel confident on those 3 bases against even a max Zerg army, but it still comes down to control.
Split up army. In the natural expansion, we see Zanster also pushing on forward, and there's a few Immortals over here. The Zealot's trying to tank the front lines. ShoWTimE doing his best to split up his units. He has a High Templar on the south side area to go for some more Storms. Some Storms going down on the north side with some great force fields as well. Immortals whittling away at the army, pulling the probes away just in the nick of time, only losing a few, but finally starting to lose a few more. The Immortals, how long are they going to be able to hold out? The Phoenix coming back in to help out, and ShoWTimE managing to hold, only taking some losses.
Yeah, 11 probe losses. I think he lost maybe an Immortal or 2, but he's still at 9, going on to 11. His Phoenix are also alive as well, so they can both help out in these battles, but also make sure to have that map presence and to be able to counter too. The 4th base was never attempted to, 40 minerals and not go into that, but it is something that ShoWTimE could start thinking of after taking a very good fight. Zanster can't remax that quickly.
Yeah, and not only can he not remax that quickly, he's down 40 supply, and the supply that he's up against are Immortals. These are the power units right now for a Protoss player. The double Nidus Worm reaction on the other side of the map, though, this is actually something it's going to be a bit weird, right? Because ShoWTimE is going to have 2 Immortals over there. He can recall some more units. Actually, wait, did he just use his recall to get those units there? Yeah. Yeah, he did. I think it just went on cooldown.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay, so only 2 Immortals were recalled then. That's a very precise amount. Maybe perfectly precise. I mean, he needs the charge-out weapons to help them, and he's actually lacking on that.
Yeah, Shield Battery is going to keep that Immortal alive for a little bit. The Phoenix is going to come back. I actually like this decision, but with more Hydras coming out of that other Nidus Worm, that's not going to be enough. ShoWTimE kills off the 4th base, but he's taking damage at his 3rd base. He's losing most of his mining, and this is turning into a nutty base trade situation.
Yeah, that's getting really, really weird. ShoWTimE is going to have to wait a little while longer for that recall, but maybe he can hold the natural. He is still using a ramp against the Zerg army, just his own ramp. So the force fields are going to be effective, and there's nothing defending back on Zanster's side of the map.
Yep, and on top of this, remember that with the Immortals and the Natural, that prevents additional Nice Worms from going down in front of his face. At best, Zanster can do another Nice Worm over by the 3rd base, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to try and clean that up. ShoWTimE continuing to try and get more damage done. He's making his way over to the Natural, going to eventually start cleaning up the main base and taking out all the tech, but the drones are already evacuated.
Yeah, like Zanster is going full base race mode here, and that is an obvious, I guess, effect of Nidus Worms that you can try and transport all of your units and build bases in other sections, but Zanster's not banking that much money. He would have 2 hatcheries, and that's kind of it. He's going to lose all of his tech. ShoWTimE, a little bit ditto. Like, what tech is he left over when his main base is cleaned up?
Oh, man, if Zanster, he had a Lurker Den that definitely finished up a while ago, but I guess it was one of the buildings that got sniped off pretty early on.
Yeah.
If he had even had 1, maybe 2 Lurkers, this becomes a much more complicated situation because you have to keep an eye on those observers, you have to be very careful about things, you have to position your units really well into detection as well. But Zanster didn't quite get those out in time. He still has a Hydra Den, so he could throw one down before it gets sniped off, but it is one of those things where he only has 500 resources or 500 minerals. It is a bit of a timer.
Yeah, every tech structure is now off of creep with no creep spread returning back to it. Drones are killing the structures here. But I thought the Templar Archives being left alive for this long was a bit of a mistake, but I don't think ShoWTimE's really
He knows that you're probably supply blocked at this point, so...
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's there's a lot of pylons to kill, and that is the issue right now. ShoWTimE at half the supply actually is.
Okay, Phoenix going to be able to pick off some of these overlords, so ShoWTimE maybe saying, well, you supply block me, I'll supply block you. I got these 4 Phoenix alive, and there's no Hydras anywhere close to these, so this is actually going to be a pretty heavy supply block. And remember, only 500 resources available. Sure, you have 33 drones, but you're going to be mining just to make overlords for a while. That buys ShoWTimE a lot of time.
Yeah, there's no way that Zanster wins a straight-up army fight, and at this point, I don't think you can win the base race, as in, we say base trade. We usually mean they take damage on either side, but a base race
It's also so funny because I'm not used to a base race happening where both these players, can you just zoom out and show that both of their main bases are right next to each other? It's just the Natural and the 3rd of they're right next to each other. This is the base race.
Yeah, but the base race is a it's a time. It's the time which you take to kill your opponent's structures versus how they're killing your structures. That's what happens. The last structure to die is the first person who taps out type deal. Does it actually get there, though? There's so many buildings to kill for the Protoss, and Zanster did replace his hatcheries and has extractors, I think, still around the map as well. Spore crawlers are also being transported. You can lift those, you can unburrow them, and they still count as structures if it was a really extreme base race.
Also remember, there is, I guess the Nidus Worms in the main base right now for ShoWTimE. They never cleaned up. He knows about them. He actually has vision of them, but hasn't bothered. But here we go. This Immortal count is so scary for Zanster to deal with. It's 86 army supply to just 43. Finally, Zanster's unsupply block, but I don't know if those Hydras are going to come out in time. And with the High Templars also here for Storms, taking out another one of these bases, I think that ShoWTimE should be able to push out and theoretically secure a victory in this first game.
There's no way the army takes on ShoWTimE's. It has to circumvent ShoWTimE's.
Yeah.
But Hydras aren't particularly good at that. This is more where Mutas would be more of a threat.
And already so many units of Zanster have been taken out that just a small number of High Templars and these 2 Immortals here, well, killing off a bunch of these workers is really, really nice. That is maybe every single worker there for ShoWTimE, or almost all of them. But you see, the Storms, the Force Fields, that's going to cause GG. ShoWTimE takes the first game.
But what a weird one. That is the type of game that Zanster can win with against ShoWTimE. Who, you know, we know him so much for being the strong wall, but it is in a lot of those basic games. And those people that we say are so macro-oriented or so defensive, usually the first ones to fall to weirdness.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we see that Zanster's answer so far to the wall is just to burrow underneath it with a Nidus Worm.
Yes, that's the plan. And it was a good plan. It's just that ShoWTimE obviously has fixed a lot of holes in his play throughout his career. So whereas maybe 2 years ago he was someone that did die to weirdness all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously he's been able to keep a cool head and actually work through it.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we get ready to hop into game number 2. And the kind of downside is that when you are the weirder player, it feels like each one of these games, you're kind of showing one of the cards up your sleeve. You're eventually going to run out of cards up your sleeve, and it becomes that difficult situation. This is a best of 3, so that is the thing going in Zanster's favor here, is that there's only one Protoss player in this group. He's only really revealing the ZVP builds now. It's not like he had to reveal them in the first match or anything. And we'll see how many he actually has prepared.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear this music.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But I feel like if you can't hear it, then we are crazy people right now listening.
I'm enjoying it, though. We got some music, yeah.
Like a 70s like bop song?
Something like that.
I actually don't remember when the
Maybe it's the song we were talking about before, and I was talking with Nate. There was some song.
I think it's 70s. Anyways.
We're going to actually sound so crazy if no one else can hear it. But, of course, guys, before we go into this next game, I want to remind you that one of the most important buildings in a base trade, your Nexus. And what better way to win the base trade than to strike fear into the heart of your opponent? An undefended Nexus? No, that's a victim. That's a big target on your back. But if you have a Nexus that looks this cool, your opponent's just going to run away as soon as they see it, even if there's no other units there. So go ahead and check that out. Pick it up through the War Chest, and 25% of the proceeds for those War Chest purchases are going toward esports initiatives in 2019. How long is this music going to be going on in our ears? I'm actually really curious. We're going to be like 45 minutes in some crazy base trade. We're still going to have this happy-go-lucky 70s music.
I wanted to play along with your Nexus comment about how like scary Alarak is, and that's an Alarak Nexus, but then I'm just hearing like oh, it's good. I mean, if this is the backtrack to our StarCraft 2 game, then I'll take it.
What would be the backtrack song for you waking up in the morning?
Waking up in the morning?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess nothing because the mornings suck.
Oh, okay. I meant to get you pumped.
You know, it's not a song. It's that oh, what is it? What cartoon is that from? Where the teacher's like wah 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 wah.
Oh, Peanuts.
Yeah, Peanuts. Yeah, yes. Exactly. That's my wake up song. And now we're on a different one.
We're on some funky music now.
Oh my god.
I really hope you guys can hear this. We're not going crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. Starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have our red Protoss player. He is ShoWTimE. I am so close to just loading up the stream on my phone to see if we're going crazy.
It's just
get down on it.
That's the song, and it's just like as soon as you do the intros, in the top right is the blue Zerg. It is Zanster. Just such a sick beat to introduce people to.
It is.
Oh my gosh. Can I even focus right now?
You know what? This is going to become a chill cast now. This is going to be a very relaxed cast.
I wanted to, is it like Benny Hill music? When like, if there's a base trade, I want Benny Hill music.
That would be great. Except that last game was nutty enough that I think Benny Hill music would have done an injustice to it. Because there are the crazy, funny base trades, and then there's the intense ones. But okay, this game we are going to see a pretty quick Nexus on the low ground. We got our Cybernex core also going down as a wall. So this is a gate Nexus core, pretty normal opening here from ShoWTimE. But this is the map, Zombie Grub, that in the last series ShoWTimE played versus Hate Me, he hallucinated the War Prism, he sent it across the map, he went for the double Stargate play and kind of did the bait and switch. I know you're having a hard time concentrating. This music is funky.
It's so good.
It is. It is good music.
I don't even know what you said, man.
Okay. Well, either way, guys, we are going to see just a few links popping on out. Zanster going for the double Nidus Worm play. That's something that I guess actually, you know, ShoWTimE saw the double Night's Storm in that last game pretty early on, right? The Phoenix were moving in.
Yes.
He got a good scout on it, but
Right.
it's still difficult to deal with regardless.
Yeah, that's why I brought up, you know, that the idea is if you know there's Nidus Worms at all, does it really make a difference if there's two? And then you brought up a really good point about how we can utilize them to make sure that the Nidus Worm isn't sniped, which is a common problem. But he didn't even use it that way.
Yeah.
He did eventually, but that wasn't the first attack. And ShoWTimE's knowledge of any Nidus Worm / aggressive play was what ultimately won him out, like the game, not the funky tactics that Zanster was showing.
Okay, Twilight Council on the way here for ShoWTimE. He is... sorry, guys. You're just going to hear me randomly chuckling. This is just a fact of life right now. Twilight Council on the way does mean he's not going to be going into that Stargate opening. And, ooh, this Adept's going to be able to survive, I think. But that's a lot of Zerglings here for Zanster.
Yeah, and this is always it's a scary wall just because like 3 buildings can hold it, but they're also like got a ton of surface area to actually kill him.
Okay, a lot more Lings on the way as well, and a few drones being made behind this for Zanster.
He didn't make out a third base though, so this is like really all in, and he's going up against the worst build possible, which is a Resident
Did he get a third base, zombie grub?
Wait, did he? Am I
No,
blind?
he didn't.
No, I didn't. But yeah, so this is going up against Resident Enclave's Adepts. Like, ShoWTimE is not going a double Phoenix, which maybe Zanster was hoping for, or even Stargate just in general, right, as an opener, so the Oracle wouldn't have energy or something like that. No, there's going to be a lot of Adepts, and effective Adepts, and now Zanster doesn't break through the wall, and also doesn't have very good units to deal with the Adepts when they come across the map.
Yep, this is a really, really awkward spot for Zanster because he is not going to be able to hit his timing, and then ShoWTimE is going to have so many scary Resident Enclaved Adepts at a time where Zanster has not had time to drone and benefit from that economy to get up defensive measures. So sure, he's got a lot of these Lings. He could surround, and I do like this decision, just jumping in on top of these Adepts, but now ShoWTimE's immediately going to know, oh, wait a second, you were making a lot of stuff. You're forced into this all-in now. I got a shield battery here. I can protect my wall. And in the meanwhile, Zanster has to get up a Baneling Nest. He just has to make more Lings right now because he needs to stay alive.
Yeah, it certainly did trick ShoWTimE. You know, he didn't realize how many Lings there were. He didn't see the third base be canceled. But the trick wasn't, it didn't pay off again, like the Nidus Worm trick last game, even though that was a little more macro-oriented. So
Drop over. Okay, I do love this.
Oh, no.
Oh, oh my god.
That timing is very, very useful.
And even sees the Banelings morphing in, so this is absolute perfect vision. I'm almost a little bit surprised that ShoWTimE moves into position with the Adepts, because at this point, there's one of those questions where you say, could I just bait the units to move forward and then still get a lot of damage done? But he knows the sentries are not at the front door. The more sentries get warped in. So ShoWTimE once again pushing this back. This is turning into a no regret all-in, which is, will the 4th level of this all-in happen? The only difference is, I have to say, for Zanster, is he's done a good job not actually committing his units that he's made into the attack. So he isn't losing the units at a minimum.
Yeah, I get your point, but it's also just not
It's still a bad spot. It's not a good spot.
Like,
I want to paint it that way.
I cut all my drones to get these units, and I won't use them. So at least I have them. That's something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess so. Yeah, he's down 10 workers. He is going up against like better and better quality units from the Protoss too, which is always the problem.
And now ShoWTimE has the magical unit he needs to put counter pressure on and prevent an all-in from just easily happening without having to also deal with attacks back on the other side of the map. The Warp Prism gonna force all of these Lings back home, and while the Lings can easily deal with this, moving back and forth, it means that ShoWTimE is not as worried on the other side of the map. He maybe might even start thinking about a third base.
This Overlord speed's got to be for future Overlord drops. Zanster knows he's going to be in a very difficult position, and he's the one dealing with harassment. He would like to get some of his own harassment going, and hey,
wow.
I mean, he's not going to be able to one-shot probes with Banelings anytime soon.
Gotta hand it to Zanster. I like that he sent the Queen over here so early on. That's a long way to walk off of Creep to get that Queen to that gold base, but he got it there. That's gonna help out versus the Warp Prism.
That's a very good scout. It's just there's so many things that Zanster could be doing because he's already done so many weird things that Aspire is on the forefront of my mind that I would be scared of as the Protoss player. But the Phoenix Scout, hallucinated Phoenix Scout, that it's just bling Baneling so far.
Would you expect more drop Overlords though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I guess there's Banelings and whatnot. Yeah, Baneling and Overlord speed also quite helpful for that.
Yeah, as I said, like maybe Maybe you don't, because it's been so long since these early aggressive drops, you know, since they got moved to lair. But obviously ZVP, this is something you have to worry about because +2 usually plays into effect, and it's certainly something you see in the matchup in general. Maybe not this quickly, though.
Yep. And we're not going to paint a lie for you guys here. This is a really, really tough spot for Zanster. He's sitting down 12 workers. He's been making nonstop lings and banelings. He's up to 61 Zerglings and actually losing a bunch in the middle of the map to these Adepts. And now the Resident Englaved Adepts are going to try to move around. They catch a bunch of the banelings that are morphing in. A lot of them get canceled. The baneling drop going to completely whiff as there's only drone or probes mining gas right now. And ShoWTimE is in a magnificent spot. Okay, losing a few drones or probes on the transfer.
Oops. Yeah, that was a little awkward, but this is now it's an easy transfer for these probes, and now we have drones going down behind the mineral line. Force fields even used to make sure they couldn't escape, so even worker kills, but not even workers.
Look at all these force fields. He can actually do a donut of force fields around those banelings if they finish.
He could have, but he didn't want to be that cool.
Yeah.
He didn't want to show all his coolness in the round of 32 if you're Dragon.
He is the wall. He doesn't make the wall around you. High Templar's morphing in, turning into Archons. I love that decision because he's up against quite literally just Zerglings and Banelings. And Archons do quite well versus both of those units. We do have more Banelings loading on up.
Yes, that's what you got to do versus, well, in this case, Adept Sentry. But yes.
Effectively no anti-air besides the Archons.
Look how much.
Recalls a few units because the third base is under attack here. ShoWTimE. This is one thing about ShoWTimE is he really loves having his transition set up, and I think sometimes he does get a bit afraid if there's counterattacks and stuff going on, but here we go. Baneling's bus running on through, dropping on top of the sentries. He's going to be able to get all of them. I think that ShoWTimE thought all the Banelings were already unloaded. 3 sentries survived, though, with a lot of energy. I don't know if it was enough, and there's even the Warp Prism in the main base of Zanster getting more damage done.
Oh, yeah, these Archons aren't part of the fight. Now they have more Zealots backing them up. That was Zanster's last chance, was to hold on to the third. He didn't do that. GG. ShoWTimE with the 2-0.
Well played. ShoWTimE shutting down completely that Ling flood, and Zanster did his best to try and transition out, making more Lings, and then go back into drones and think about the Baneling drops, but ShoWTimE just prepared on every front, handles the counterattacks, handles everything, and goes for the kill.
Yep, that was a cool idea from Zanster to cancel a third hatchery after being scouted, especially because there was not going to be a follow-up scout, but whatever he was looking for at the front of the wall didn't work out, and he was forced to think of other creative solutions. It was just a weird game. I love the Bane drops, I really do. If he had another Overlord full of Banelings and 40 more army supply, then it would have been beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, nice ideas, if nothing else, from Zanster. And of course, this is the winner's match, so Zanster is not knocked out by any means from the actual event. He is going down to the decider match, which is going to be coming up next, and he will be facing off in a ZVZ, another ZVZ versus Hate Me. I don't believe these two players have played just yet, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.